Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda.
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, where we are reading Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labanga Latika. We have come to the 6th chapter, Jnana Yoga, which is a chapter. Of course, the whole Bhagavad-gita is about yoga, in the sense that yoga actually means connecting the spirit soul to the supreme soul, which is the actual mission of the human form of life, to realize our spiritual nature, to realize our inner identity, our actual self. And that self is never separated in reality from the supreme, because we're all part of his nature. We're all in that sense. So Jnana Yoga is that form of meditation that focuses mostly on meditation. And in order to meditate, one has to control the mind, because otherwise it will not be meditation. I don't know if you're familiar with meditation, but there are many different forms of meditation. Of course, we in the Bhakti Yoga, our main focus of meditation is japa meditation, where we are having what is it called? Japa beads for meditating on the mantra of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jnana Yoga is mostly about silent inner meditation, and in order to be able to do that, one has to follow a mechanical process, particularly to control the mind. Because if the mind is not controlled, you will not be able to focus the mind on one in a single pointed way, and then it is not meditation. That is what meditation means. And of course we hear popular modern forms of meditation where they're saying, oh, your thoughts will come up, and just let the thoughts pass by like bubbles in the sea. And of course you can do that, but it is not meditation. Meditation means fixed consciousness, fixed concentration. As simple as that. And in order to do that, first there are yoga methods of controlling the mind, and that's what we are hearing about in these verses. Of course, we are practicing Bhakti Yoga, which is not solely dependent on our ability to fully control the mind for meditation. At the same time, the same situation is there, of course. If we have an uncontrolled mind that goes all over the place, it is also difficult to focus in Krishna consciousness. So I will read the text, number 6 in this chapter 6. Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmanajitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Purport. The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. So it's like if we have a dog. I don't have dogs, but I see people with dogs. And somebody who has a good relation with the dog and also has established the dog's position in the group. Because a dog, you can't really talk to it. You can't have an intellectual exchange and agree to disagree. If the dog is going to work in your, what is it called, in your family, then it needs to understand its position. It doesn't mean you control it very harshly and create a level of fear where the dog is simply cowering and shaking. But it means the dog cannot be uncontrolled. The dog cannot pull you away here and there. The dog cannot attack you. That is not feasible. You cannot live like that. And with the mind, it's pretty much the same thing. When the mind is uncontrolled, it's either, like we have seen this example previously, the living entities, the soul in the body is the actual person, but seated in this body as if on a machine, as if in a car or in a wagon. And it is drawn by the senses, who are compared to the horses. Those horses are meant to be controlled by the intelligence, and the instrument that is used is the mind that is compared to the reins. So we rein our senses in. We don't allow them to just pull us here and there all over the place. And then it works. We go in the direction we want to do. But if we are not aware of the situation, then the senses will simply call our attention through the mind, and the mind will present these fantastic ideas of go there, think about this, see that, eat this, and there will be no question of meditation. There will be no question of peace. And sometimes we hear that the mind can be even worse, can be an actual enemy situated in your own head, and you're hearing this voice of this is useless, you are useless, everything is pointless. And to live like that, it is just a pure form of suffering. And that is not you. That is your mind. The problem here is that we don't have such a concise and practical science of fixing that situation. That solution is within yoga, and this is the actual part of it spoken about here. How that same mind, when it has some training, just like a dog. I mean, I don't have dogs. I have friends who have dogs, and you see dogs, they are so loyal. They have so much love. They are so happy to be around you. But if they don't have the basic training, to refrain from certain things, they have to be clean in the house, they can't attack people, they can't bark all the time, and when you walk them, they can't, pull away on the leash. They have to be under a certain amount of control. And the mind, the same thing. The mind is useful. The mind is part of the package. But when it comes to spiritual realization, especially, but even regular life, if the mind is controlled, then it becomes our friend. And that's, at least we can agree on that point. Now the different yoga systems will do it differently. And so this bhakti yoga is not dependent on such a strict mechanical process of controlling the mind. But the same principle is there. So it's still quite valuable for us to study this chapter and understand it. The constitutional position of the living entity is... I don't remember how much I read. I will read it a little bit extra. Maybe we heard it once, we can hear it twice. The purpose of practicing Eightfold Yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. So, yes, these concepts, we want to understand them. The living entity is always a part of God, and our constitutional position is to be the loving service of Krishna. So that is a relationship, but it's also we have different roles in that relationship. That loving service can be carried out in many different ways and in many different types of relationships. But that is of a spiritual nature, and that is eternal. So that is what we are aiming for. And before we have that realization, we need to practice some form of yoga. Because if we are not interested in that, we can also skip the whole idea of reading Bhagavad-gita. But now we are reading Bhagavad-gita, and this is what Bhagavad-gita, this is the knowledge Bhagavad-gita gives us. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. So that's kind of the point. It's not that if I don't want to do spiritual life and I don't want to be to accept the idea of being a loving servant of God, it doesn't mean I become free. It simply means that the nature of the living entities, the tiny little soul, the nature is to always be engaged in some form of service. The best idea is to do that in a loving, voluntary, spontaneous way in a relationship to God. But if we avoid that, it will come out anyway, and we will be to some extent controlled by these dictations of lust, anger, avarice, and illusion. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. So yeah, we're speaking about two systems, but there are parallels there. Krishna comes in the form of Paramatma and sits in everyone's heart. Through this journey from body to body, lifetime after lifetime, Supersoul is always there with us, Paramatma in the heart. And this mystical yoga, this jhana yoga, the goal is to, in a mechanical way, through processes, to control the mind, to withdraw the consciousness from the senses, to turn within and to meet Supersoul there in the heart, and then surrender, connect to him. Bhakti yoga works in a different process. It works through the practice of bhakti yoga, through service to Krishna. But the goal of realizing, of seeing Krishna face to face is there also. Although in this age, bhakti yoga is recommended because it is easier. This other jhana yoga is very difficult, because to fully control the mind, it's very difficult. It is very, very difficult. There, I think I said this before. Some disciple came up to a yogi and asked him, please teach me meditation. And the yogi says, oh, it's very easy. You can just do anything you want, think about anything you want, except monkeys. So, what did he think about? It was monkeys, monkeys, monkeys for the rest of the day. And in the same way, to just decide to control the mind is difficult. Jhana yoga has a very structured mechanical process for it. It takes a long time and is very detailed and difficult. Bhakti yoga works the other way around. By connecting to Krishna, gradually we will be drawn to Krishna, we will be attracted to Krishna, and we will prefer to think of Krishna, hear of Krishna, chant Krishna's name, and then the mind will be controlled by love, just as if we love someone. If we have our children, I think children are the best example. When you have the little children, you come in the house, you see the shoes all over the all over the floor, but you will think of your children. You come in the kitchen and you think, what will they want to eat today? You go to the laundry room and think, do I have enough clothes for my children? So your mind is constantly there because you're in that relationship. And that's how bhakti yoga works. We draw our mind into that relationship to Krishna. A certain level of controlling of the mind and senses is of course there as well, but it will be less mechanical and more easy and a more pleasing process in every way. So yes, that's what I wanted to say. In this verse, speaking about the mind, when we control it, it becomes our friend, and how it connects both to the chapter of Jnana Yoga and both how it connects to our position in Bhakti Yoga. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.